We do reggae music because, I formed the group, and it's about a message. So music has a certain message and can bring people into a spiritual place, but if you can touch them also with the lyric and get their minds to start thinking about bigger issues, because I think that today, more so than any day, we're facing, confrontations, and a lot of the things that we're dealing with here, whether it be war, whether it be religious, whether it be the environment, we are having to make decisions very soon that affect the future of the whole entire planet. So I feel that the time is now for that lyrical message.
You've been talking of spiritual music. Are you religious? Because you studied a lot about Rastafarism.
Sure, I was brought up, of course, religious. I was raised in the temple. My parents come from the Kohanim Levi, from the 12 tribes of Israel, so I was raised very religious, going to Hebrew school and learning all this Talmud and the Torah. And that's why reggae music touched me also, was because in California, all of my friends, they were not Jews. They were not like me. My parents came to East Coast, and I was born in California, and there was no other Jewish people. So I had to drive an hour to go to temple, and all of my friends didn't have to do it. So I didn't understand. I had to go learn this language that nobody speaks. I didn't really understand these things. So reggae music, talking about the 12 tribes of Israel and Moses and Aaron, and talking about these things, it was like my music, It was like speaking to me when I was just a young kid. So there were times in my life when I was religious. But I feel, which my father also taught me too, is that religion has caused a lot of problems in the world. And I think that really the foundation from me also going to Jamaica as a young kid and spending winters and summers there, seeing Rasta, and Rasta took me in because I was this small kid from the Kohanim Levi tribe, and Rasta loves the 12 tribes of Israel. So they're like, yes, come sit here, right here, okay. And I would learn from the elders about Rasta teachings. And I feel that that is really a fundamental part of me, which is not religious. In fact, it's trying to bring down the walls of religion. I feel like it's not my job to be practicing Judaism as my foreparents did. I feel that the real teachings is like the teachings of Rastafari. It's saying that all of the stuff that we learn, it's just separating us from really our allegiance and our family, which is the one world family. So I don't feel like preaching a religion is necessarily a good thing, because there has to come a time when we step back from these books, whether it be the Quran or whether it be the Bible, whether it be the Torah. We have to be able to step back from these books and say, okay, but before this, we were still living together as societies. And you can't divide God into a religion. So we have to, at some point, we have to move away from this. Or else you have what we have today, which is a Western society like ours. We're buying things and doing it. And you have a thing like ISIS, which is a militant Islam in the Middle East, which is growing very big. And it's about returning to the time of the Prophet and going back to this really Shia law, serious thing, which is not what the world is at. And you're at a conflict until you can step beyond those books and those old teachings. And that's one of the things that we try to do in the concerts to speak about, is to say, hey, all of these religions, they're only a couple thousand years old. These are young. And our story of our human history is young. So this is not, it was a little bit of a divergent path. But really we are on the same route. Each and one of us, all of us, are on the same path. And we need to return to that. So I would say that I am definitely a spiritual person, and I do teach from the perspective of stories that are universal, which is like the Bible and these things. But out of those teachings, it's really trying to show a greater sense of oneness. Yeah.
Do you follow international news? Have you heard about the attacks in Paris in January? Because you speak of religion.
Right, yeah, sure.
Do you have an opinion, or what did you hear about it?
Yeah, I mean, it's a terrible thing. It's a terrible thing. I did hear, of course, that the people who were murdered, what was it, 14 people? 12 in one?
12 and I think 6 others, right?
Right. You know, those types of things happen all the time in places like Afghanistan and Iraq. That's commonplace. There's a song on our album, Here I Am, and the song is called By All Means. And I say that this type of greed and this power, the struggle that we have for more money and all this, it's never really going to stop until we see Iraq all around the world. And that's what the future could be. Complete and total chaos. When people's backs are against the wall, they take it to the streets. And it's going to look a lot like Afghanistan in France and in the United States. And this is a little bit of what we see. While at the same time, throughout Africa, thousands are dying all the time. People don't really care that much about those innocent people. So, you know, life is what's important. And we as musicians, we teach that defending life is really where it's at. And freedom of choice is great. You know, freedom to do what you will, as long as it doesn't affect somebody else's freedom. And we're 100% behind that. So, you know, those types of things are unfortunate. But it's difficult to solve that problem. Because one is a teaching that is a faith, and when you start challenging people's faiths, it gets dangerous. People will do anything when you start challenging their faith. So, you know, what can you say to someone to say that, you know, women shouldn't have rights? Women shouldn't be able to do these things. What can you say? There is no gap. You say, well, yeah, no, they have to. They must have it. No, if you do that, we're going to stone you and kill you. Well, then we have a serious problem. There is no bargaining. There is no, let's meet at the negotiating table and work out a peace. There is no peace. Because one side is hell-bent on destroying the other. And that's what you see there in France. You see this kind of outlash of like, oh, what's this violence? Man. And really it comes down to the fact that we're living in the repercussions of an oppressive system. And that's what reggae music is talking about. Babylon's system and those things, which is money and greed. And the fact that all these governments and presidents and prime ministers who are here to do the will of the people, they're really bought and sold by corporations. So this is all, as the Silver Tongue Show, this is all puppet show. We have a song called Silver Tongue Show we played tonight. This is all part of the puppet show. Yeah, we'll give you some freedoms, just like in America. We'll give you enough freedoms, but not true equality and justice. Just enough until, you know, because there will come a time when the people will take it to the streets. Because it's not right. It's not right for such few people on the planet to have so much wealth. And wealth today, it equals life today. If you have money, you can get your health care. You can literally cure yourself. And if you don't have the money, you're gonna die. So money is life. So we really have to fight that system. And we have to change our whole mentality. And that is, again, what the teachings of Rastafari was really about. After the Italians invaded Ethiopia, Rastafari went around the world preaching this thing. You have to take all this out of your mind. That's not human nature. Human nature is something of being part of a collective. We all really come from indigenous societies. Before we were colonial powers, we were all tribal people living as one family without money and these things. That's why I have a great hope for the future, is because this division, it's a recent division. And the oneness is not something foreign to human nature. It is human nature to be part of that one community.
I just have a last question. I don't know if anybody wants to ask. About The marijuana legislation in America has changed. The use in Colorado is legalized.
Yeah.
And California is very permissive. What's your opinion on?
It's great. It's great, man. Yeah, it's fantastic. I believe ganja, it can be a problem. People can abuse ganja, and it can lead people astray. But ganja also opens people's minds. It gets them a little bit of moment to think about life in more of a fundamental way, much more than alcohol and things that are legal. So any type of legalization for ganja is, I'm behind it, 100%. It's a plant, it grows natural, and it is for the upliftment of man. Like any other plant, it is. It is for us to use and the benefits of it. Just like all the pharmaceutical medicines, it's real plants, it's nature. We just got it from nature and put it into little pills. But ganja is there, I think, to really be used to uplift people and to show them that society is not in balance yet. And we need to keep struggling for that. And I think more than else, I have lots of good friends who go to jail for growing marijuana. And that's a ridiculous thing. You know, put somebody in jail for 6 months for growing a plant. Unbelievable. Can't do that kind of. These aren't violent people. People you should lock up, you know?
It still happens in California?
It still happens in California, not so much. You have to have a lot of it and doing it illegally to make it happen. But it happens in other states, for sure. And if you have ganja and you're coming from California and you're driving just over the state border into Arizona, yeah, they can come down on you big and get in trouble. And it's a shame. It's a shame because if you look at all the deaths that come from alcohol, which is legal, in the United States, that kills more than 100,000 people in drunk driving accidents in the US each year. And for ganja, I don't know. I've never seen somebody smoke spliff and start getting in a bunch of fights and things. I've never seen it, you know? And they say it's a gateway drug, you know, you have to be worried because someone smoked a spliff today and they do cocaine the next day. I've never seen, I mean, people do cocaine and whatnot, but I've never seen all of my friends and brethren smoking ganja ever start going into cocaine. It's ridiculous. And in America, cocaine is a lesser offense than ganja. Ganja is a class 3 drug. Yes. It's the same class as heroin. It's because it was a fight against poor people. A lot of Mexican and black Americans using ganja. So the American government uses it to fight against poor people. But yeah, it's a shame.
Thank you very much.
Yes, man, my pleasure. My pleasure.
Harrison, one question about your project, you know, Until We Fly Again.
Yeah!
You bet on the project Al from On Card, you know, from
Yeah.
the city, you know.
Okay.
You played at Reggae Sense Car. What about this project?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was a great joy. Until We Fly Again is...
With legend, Reggae legend. You know,
Yeah, for me it was to be able to record Pablo Moses and Shanty Roy, Winston Jarrett.
Yeah.
I mean, Winston Jarrett's getting to be 75 years old this year. What?
Absolute talent.
So, I saw too that they were kind of stuck a little bit. There's no new music. Nobody wants to do a new tour. There's no new music.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
So I said, okay, well, let me try and work some songs. Let's go in the studio.
Kind of like you did with Don Carlos, Apple Gabriel. In the past with Groundation.
Yeah, with Groundation, for sure. For sure.
It's wonderful.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you can record those legends is of benefit. Because 10 years from now, they're not gonna be around.
Exactly.
Just like the documentary film that I did, Holding On to Jah.
Exactly.
So this year, Holding On to Jah will be released.
This year?
This year.
You confirm it?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'm just doing the licensing now. It's all done. And that features, I can name Mortimer Plano, Joseph Hill from Culture, Sugar Minott, all these guys who aren't here anymore, who are a part of that film.
Exactly.
So it's a legacy.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, like the film Holding On to Jah is centering around the day that Selassie came to Jamaica in 1966. And pretty soon, there's going to be no one left who were there. It'll all be secondhand stories. And here we have a documentary film, Holding On to Jah, where it's them talking to, man, he came and I was on the side of the road and, amazing,
We hope so.
Really amazing.
So for this year.
Yes, 100%. And we have people like Horsemouth and Countryman, you know, stars. They're legends, man, legends.
Wonderful reggae.
Yeah, for sure.